So what's actually happening here? Why would two developed regions with similar wealth levels, similar access to design trends, and similar home sizes make completely opposite choices about something as fundamental as kitchen layout? Let's start with what Americans are doing, because it's probably familiar to you. Open concept has dominated American residential design since the 1990s. Flip through any real estate listing in the US and you'll see the same phrases repeated like a mantra. Open floor plan, great for entertaining, flows seamlessly. Real estate agents know these words sell homes. HGTV has built an empire showing couples tearing down walls with sledgehammers, their faces lit up with joy as the kitchen finally connects to the living room. The statistics back this up. According to the National Association of Home Builders, over 70% of home buyers in America now specifically request open floor plans. It's not just preferred, it's expected. Homes without open layouts actually. Here's where it gets interesting, and where most people don't think deeply enough about this divide. The answer isn't just cultural preference, it's about the fundamental sensory experience of cooking. Think about what happens when you cook. Really cook, not just heating up leftovers, but actually preparing a meal. There's sound, the sizzle of onions hitting hot oil, the whir of a blender, the clang of pots. There's smell, garlic, frying fish, burnt popcorn, whatever's in that pan. There's heat pouring off your stovetop. There's steam fogging up nearby surfaces. There's grease particles floating through the air that you can't even see, but that will eventually settle on your furniture, your curtains, your television screen. Americans have decided we're okay with all of that. Or more accurately, we've decided the benefits of openness outweigh these sensory intrusions. We compensate with powerful range hoods, though most American homes still use recirculating hoods that don't actually vent outside. We light candles to mask cooking smells. We turn up the TV volume to compete with kitchen noise. Europeans looked at the same equation and reached a different conclusion. They decided that walls exist for a reason, to contain the mess of cooking. A closed kitchen means those food smells don't permeate your couch. That noise doesn't interrupt conversations or compete with your television. That grease doesn't settle on surfaces 20 feet away. But here's what's fascinating. This isn't Europeans being old-fashioned. It's actually a deeply practical approach based on how different cultures cook. Americans increasingly rely on convenience foods, meal prep services, and cooking methods that minimize mess. The average American household cooks full meals from scratch far less frequently than previous generations. When cooking becomes an occasional activity rather than a daily ritual, the sensory disruptions matter less. European cooking culture operates differently. In countries like Italy, France, and Spain, cooking remains a daily practice involving strong smells, high heat, and lengthy preparation times. When you're braising meat for hours or frying fish multiple times a week, you don't want those experiences bleeding into your living space. Now, if you're American, you're probably thinking, but what about entertaining? Don't Europeans have dinner parties? This is where things get really interesting, because Americans have built an entire justification for open kitchens around a behavior we barely actually do. The pitch goes like this. Open kitchens are essential for entertaining because the host can cook while still socializing with guests. Nobody wants to be isolated in the kitchen while the party happens elsewhere. The cook should be part of the action. Sounds reasonable, right? Except there's a problem with this logic. Research on American social behavior shows that most households entertain dinner guests fewer than 6 times per year. 6 times! That means we're designing our homes around an activity that represents less than 2% of our lived experience in that space. Europeans entertain differently, and arguably more authentically. In most European cultures, when you have guests over, the cooking is largely finished before they arrive. The host brings food out, serves it, and then sits down with everyone. The kitchen isn't a stage, it's a workspace. And when the meal is over, the dirty dishes and mess stay hidden behind a closed door while everyone continues enjoying the evening. There's something else happening here too, something about American culture that we don't always want to admit. The open kitchen isn't really about including the cook in the conversation, it's about performance. It's about being seen cooking, having guests witness your beautiful kitchen, your expensive appliances, your granite countertops. The open kitchen is as much about display as it is about functionality. European design philosophy tends to separate public and private spaces more deliberately. The kitchen is considered a working space, utilitarian, sometimes messy, not necessarily meant for guests' eyes. Meanwhile, the dining area and living spaces are where social life happens. This separation isn't antisocial, it's a different understanding of hospitality.